We are all witnessing a historic moment, a moment which is characterized by unprecedented solidarity. This solidarity is reflected in one principle, which is not to be compromised. This is the principle of equality between human beings, equality between women and men.
30 years ago, on September 4, 1995 to September 15, 1995, the world gathered in Beijing, China, with a shared vision to create a future where every woman and girl could thrive, free from discrimination and inequality. Today from Nigeria, we pause to reflect on how far we have come. This is the story of progress, resilience, and the dreams that continue to drive us forward. Stories of women like Bene Madunagu, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Hajia Gambo Sawaba, Buchi Emecheta, Dora Akunyili, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, and many more that have driven the zeal to stay and make demands.
Going back 30 years comes with lots of good feelings. We started from, I would say, zero bottom, but today we're not quite there when we look at the affirmation of at least 35% given to women in governance. We're not there yet, but we're not behind either. We're moving, not as fast as we would have thought, but it has brought great hope. It has brought great inspiration. It has opened up the capacity of what women are able to do if given the opportunity to do that. Well, in the sphere of 30 years, it's been a struggle, but it has been a struggle worth its while.
The legacy of Beijing, for me, has been about the importance of centering women as key to progress and development. No nation can achieve any of its development goals if it does not see the need to invest in women and girls. Therefore, the Beijing conference was about women's lives, women's voices, and their agency.
It was during the Beijing conference in 1995. Human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights once and for all. And for me as a Nigerian woman and a human rights advocate, there lies the legacy of the Beijing conference, because it emphasizes the inseparability of the broader human rights from women's rights. It also affirms the fact that women's rights, gender equality, they are not special privileges or special interests that we are trying to push for women. Rather, they are fundamental rights that every woman should enjoy.
Since Beijing Declaration 1995, Nigeria has made remarkable strides toward gender equality. Women now lead in boardrooms, take seats in parliament as lawmakers, and run businesses that transform communities. From groundbreaking policies that have expanded access to education for girls, to grassroots initiatives that empower rural women, the journey toward equality has been marked by bold actions and undeniable progress. But numbers tell only part of the story. Behind every milestone lies the work of women who dared to dream and break barriers.
Since the Beijing conference in 1995, across the African continent and in Nigeria in particular, we have made progress in several areas. For example, we have robust legal and policy frameworks that we can draw on. Across the continent, we have the Maputo Protocol that was put in place to guarantee the rights of women and girls across the continent. We have the solemn Declaration on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. And at the national level, we have a range of laws policies and agreements that are meant to raise the status of women. We have also seen an increase in awareness around the need to educate girls in our countries. Without the education of girls, we are going to have societies that are going to be set back, because an educated girl becomes an empowered woman, and empowered women drive development in their communities. And another gain that we have made since Beijing is the awareness that women need a seat at the table. And we have seen, therefore, an increase in the number of women in public life and in decision making.
Since 1995, Nigerian women have gained stronger legal protections, better access to education, and increased participation in politics. These achievements are shaping a better future for all.
We have had a lot of work done on the girl child, making sure that girls are not limited by marriages, they are not limited, to just primary education. Women are now in a lot of positions. We have had women vice chancellors, we have had a lot of women running financial institutions, bank MDs, bank chairmen. So these are windows that were opened because of our exposure to that opportunity, and because more women have been able to come out to say, yes, we also can do it. And one of my favorite takeaway from the conference was that women's rights are human rights, such that whatever opportunity are given to men, women also can do it. And we've proven that yes, we are up to it. Today, in technology, in business, in politics, we are there. And we have had a lot of women establish non-governmental organizations to advocate for women and girl issues.
At the heart of change are the voices that refuse to be silenced. The women stood up, they spoke out, and they demanded a better tomorrow. From the activists who fought for girls' education in the face of resistance, to the entrepreneur who turned a small idea into a movement that employs hundreds, the women who raised platforms and institutions to amplify women's voices, seeking justice for women. These stories of courage and resilience light the path forward.
I would say that the Beijing conference gave us a language. It gave us a common language. It gave us a unified language. The language that women's rights are human rights, and that human rights are women's rights. Because what that does is that common language, gives us a framework that we all work with, globally, regionally, nationally, towards advancing the rights of women and girls, whether to gender-based violence prevention and response, access to adequate healthcare that is affordable, that is accessible, that is culturally sensitive, looking at, women's economic empowerment, where the gender pay gap is not that wide and that there is parity in that regard as well, looking at issues around, access to education for all girls, looking at all of those issues that impact on women and girls. What the Beijing conference did was to give us one common language, that all of these are not far-fetched. They are actually the rights that women must continue to enjoy. And until we use that common language, where we see women's rights as human rights, we will continue to recycle all of the impediments that limit the access of women to their rights across the world.
Post-Beijing gave us a voice, and this voice should grow louder, because the context within which the Beijing Declaration of Action came is still with us. The inequality, the insecurity, the less representation at legislative and executive tiers. So for us, the voices of Beijing must carry on until, of course, we achieve that for which we know is good for humanity, 50-50 at every strata of human development.
We
we must unite and ensure that the lives of women and girls are better. We must also ensure that the struggle to ensure that the voices of women are respected and protected at the national and subnationals becomes a reality. We also need to be committed to the struggle so that we can hand over to generations coming a society that is safe, because we want to see a Nigeria where women are safe in their homes, at places of work, and also in school. So we want to see a good representation of women in our traditional councils. And also we want the gender bills that were rejected in the 9th National Assembly to become a lived reality of the Nigerian women, so that we have good number of women's representation in our parliament, in appointive positions, and also within the political party structure.
We have seen consensus on some key issues that women are concerned about. For example, peace and security, women's economic empowerment and livelihoods, the importance of girls' education, sexual and reproductive rights and women's bodily integrity, women and political participation and their role in public life, and addressing sexual and gender-based violence. All these issues have been important to us as African women. They continue to be, and it is hoped that as we go forward during this period of reflection, 30 years after Beijing, that these issues continue to be of priority, and all actors, governmental actors, civil society, movement actors, partners in all sectors address these issues so we can continue to see gains and not losses going forward.
As we reflect on 30 years of progress since Beijing Conference in 1995, let us not forget the lessons we've learned and the commitments we've made. The journey is far from over, but the road ahead is clear. This is a call for all of us to take action and support the movement for the liberation of women in all areas. The next decade is ours to shape. As we listen to their journeys, we are reminded of one truth. Progress is powered by people who refuse to give up, no matter the odds. No buts, no ifs.
Nigeria must impose stronger laws to protect women, empower them economically, increase female representation in leadership, and challenge harmful cultural norms.
Fulfilling the goals of Beijing Declaration means that we must have a 50-50 at governance. Both wings must be on so that we can accelerate development, particularly in a time like this, when we have to look inwards to get human development move faster than it ever did, especially for the African woman, for the Nigerian woman. We need to end poverty. It doesn't have to have the face of a woman.
While we celebrate the gains of the past 3 decades, we also acknowledge the remaining challenges: gender-based violence, unequal opportunities, poor research funding on women's health, leaving many critical areas of women's health like maternal mortality. Undeserved communities are left out, and systemic barriers still hold too many backs. The future is bright. Young girls today are growing up with the tools, resources, and role models to dream bigger. Policymakers, community leaders, and innovators are uniting to push the boundaries of what's possible. Together, we can create a Nigeria where every woman and every girl has the chance to thrive. Together, we can build a Nigeria where gender equality is not just a goal, but a reality. This is our legacy. This is our future. This is Beijing Plus 30. Voices of change, stories of progress.